Sinai is one of the most famous mountains in human history. Billions believe Moses received the Ten Commandments there. Pilgrims have been climbing it for 1,700 years. And here's the extraordinary thing. Scholars still cannot agree on where it actually is. That mystery is not a problem. It is one of the most fascinating puzzles in all of biblical archaeology. The Bible references Mount Sinai, also called Horeb, more than 30 times. The Torah describes it as the place where God spoke to Moses from a burning bush, where the Ten Commandments were given to Israel, where the covenant between God and the people was sealed. It is not a minor location in the biblical story. It is arguably the central geographical point of the entire Hebrew Bible. So why is its location still debated? And what do the leading candidate sites actually look like when you examine them?
Let us start with the most widely known candidate, Jebel Musa, in southern Sinai Peninsula, which sits at 2,285 meters above sea level and has been the traditional pilgrimage destination since at least the 4th century AD. At the base of Jebel Musa sits St. Catherine's Monastery, founded by order of Emperor Justinian I in the 6th century AD, and still inhabited by Greek Orthodox monks today. It is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the oldest continuously inhabited Christian monasteries in the world. Inside its library, in 1844 and 1859, biblical scholar Constantine von Tischendorf found what became known as the Codex Sinaiticus, one of the oldest complete manuscripts of the New Testament in existence, dating to the 4th century AD. The full text is now digitized and freely available at codexsinaiticus.org, and you can read it yourself today. The monastery alone makes this site extraordinary, regardless of which mountain was the actual Sinai. But Jebel Musa has a problem. The Bible describes the Israelites camping at the base of the mountain, and the plain at the base of Jebel Musa is quite small, perhaps too small for the large encampment the text describes. This has led researchers to look elsewhere. The second serious candidate is Har Karkom in the Negev desert of southern Israel. Italian archaeologist Emanuele Anati spent decades surveying and excavating this flat-topped mountain and found thousands of rock carvings, petroglyphs covering the surrounding plateau, dated to the 3rd and 2nd millennia BC. He published his findings in peer-reviewed journals, including the Journal of the Israeli Prehistoric Society. The site shows evidence of ancient cultic activity, altars, sacred enclosures, hundreds of inscribed figures. Anati argued that the sheer density of religious art around this mountain made it a candidate for an ancient sacred site connected to the Exodus narrative. Not all archaeologists agree with his dating, but his survey work is meticulous, and the site is genuinely remarkable.
A third candidate, and one that has attracted considerable popular attention, is Jebel el-Laus in northwestern Saudi Arabia. This mountain, sometimes called the Saudi Sinai, has been promoted in books and documentaries, with proponents pointing to a blackened summit said to match Exodus 19:18's description of the mountain burning with fire. However, the blackening is most likely volcanic, and the site has not been subject to rigorous published academic excavation. Now, let us think about the biblical description itself. Exodus 19 says the Israelites camped at the mountain's base for days. There was thunder, lightning, thick cloud, and fire. The people were told not to touch the mountain. Moses went up and came down repeatedly. 1 Kings 19 then describes Elijah, centuries later, making a 40-day journey on foot to reach the same mountain, a detail that has been used to calculate approximate distances from various regions. Whatever the location, what the mountain represents in the biblical narrative is a direct encounter between the divine and the human, the giving of law, the forging of covenant, the transformation of a people. And interestingly, the prophet Elijah's experience at Horeb in 1 Kings 19 is described not with fire and earthquake as the primary event, but with a still, small voice afterward. The same mountain, a completely different kind of encounter, as if the text itself is saying that the mountain is not the point, the presence is. The location of Sinai may never be definitively settled, but every candidate site teaches us something real about ancient pilgrimage, about desert geography, about the way sacred places embed themselves in collective memory across millennia. Perhaps, as one scholar put it, the mountain does not need to be found to be true. Next time, a town that some people claimed never existed at all until they found a first-century house under a convent.